Guys, welcome back to another episode. I'm working on this 1974 Columbia 45 sailboat. Last thing you guys saw was I pulled this generator out of the engine compartment. Let's move this over here. Today's goal is to get these guys out of the way, start cleaning a little bit. After that, I'm gonna try to remove as many of the hoses that are old and probably leaking from this engine and see if we can find that water leak and oil leak. These two, oh, they were connected at one point, but they're so rotten. That's not gonna help. Put that one in the trash can, trash bag. That one in the trash bag. And I basically have a clean hand and a dirty hand. Clean hand is to operate the tools. I really like to keep my tools clean. And this one just has two long Phillips that I'm going to remove. And that one is out of the way. Very greasy. This hose needs to go. The connection that's holding it to this tank is pretty rusted, so I'm just gonna pull it forward, cut it, and then just push it back. This hose can also go. This was the salt water that went into the diesel generator for cooling. I can't remove this valve yet because I don't have a on-off switch to the main engine, but this hose is no longer needed, so I can pull this off and give myself a little bit more room. I'm gonna clean this area a little bit, just spray some cleaner in there and wipe it down. It just needs to be cleaned up. My flip-flops are getting dirty, I'm getting dirty, so I'm gonna do that off camera because no one wants to see me clean. Did a little bit of cleaning. This area is better, not good, but better. Now I can move around without getting too greasy, and now it's time to get to this engine. Before I get to this engine, I'm going to put on my legal hat and just say that this is not for educational purposes. I don't 100% know what I'm doing. I'm just an enthusiast. I'm just a man with a boat and an engine that has a leak from everywhere. So let's get that out of the way. This is just for entertainment purposes. Let's get started. Real quick, I'm going to remove this bilge pump. This is the old bilge pump. I don't know if it works. Wiring is all messed up. For those of you that don't know, a bilge pump is meant to pump water out of this area of the boat, the lower portion. Usually they're operated by a float. There's a float in there. There's a couple more floats over there. I got a new one, so this one's gonna come out and give me more room. First three hoses I'm gonna disconnect is gonna be this hose, and this hose. They're all old and they might have leaks, but it's good practice to just disconnect those. Well, any hoses that you suspect will have leaks, and go from there. These bolts have to be disconnected as well. This holds this portion together, so I'm going to remove this part, and then that will allow me to disconnect this portion. And again, I'm going to check this seal as well. This part out, as you can see, it's not very clean inside, so this needs to be cleaned out over here. And the part that it came from doesn't look good either. It's draining a lot of the water that was in the system. This tank holds a lot of that water. This is the heat exchanger. You can see a lot of the water is now running out of the system down the engine. Taking a look at this portion of the engine, you have the main drive wheel coming off the crankshaft. I think this is an oil pump, but you can see it's not balanced. Right there, it's hitting this water inlet. And there's my alternator. So for now, I'm gonna remove the main wheel, the main pulley. This thing needs some cleaning. That's gonna eat away at the belt, so I'm gonna pull this off, take this home, grind it down with my grinder, take off this wheel, see what's going on. I don't know if it's not balanced or something's up, it's hitting. And this thing just has to come out. It's gonna give me more room to access that portion of the engine. Looking at this heat exchanger, there is a bolt that's missing right there. There's one on this side, that little guy, one on this side, and then one that's missing. So this engine, holy crap, just bolts missing everywhere. Obviously that could have been the major portion of the leak. It's just torqued down by 2 bolts. So we'll see. Show you guys the progress I've made so far. So heat exchanger has been pulled. A lot of areas where there could be leaks. I pulled the water pump pulley that was grinding on this portion of the pump. This I still can't get. These are 13mm star bolts. I don't have any star sockets. We'll have to do without those for today. Alternator has been pulled along with the bracket. Bracket is down here. Alternator is up here. I think I'm going to pull this next. Again, anything that has gaskets, I'm going to try to get off this motor and see if I can repair it. Also, this motor mount had no bolt. That explains the vibration in the motor, and a lot of these bolts are loose. That leads to the oil filter. We still have water coming in, or not coming in, but it's dripping out of the coolant system. This engine is turning into quite a project. I'm just surrounded by parts and tools, and this engine, I managed to pull, this is some sort of oil and water. I'm guessing it's a pump, but it has an inlet for water, and it has an inlet for oil that leads to the oil filter. So that was located right over here. The big problem I'm running into is this little guy. I'm feeling a divot under here that has some moisture. Again, I don't know if that moisture is coming off from the salt water that is coming out of the engine, since I'm taking stuff apart, but that divot doesn't feel natural. And when I try to remove it, I snap bolt number 1 and I snap bolt number 2. There's a third bolt that's located right behind here. At this point, it's probably gonna snap as well. They're very rusty, and that could be a source of some leak. So I think I found one of the culprits from my leaky engine. So I just pulled this part, and as you can see, this is the back of this part. Lots of things are coming out. Oh yeah, right there. So this was sitting in this bracket, going to the back of the exhaust. So I think this is what was feeding the water into the exhaust system. This engine is supposed to add water to the exhaust to cool it, and this guy was providing the water. So this definitely leaked. I've torn a lot of things off of this engine. Removed the exhaust manifold, intake manifold. There's the exhaust manifold. There's the intake manifold. I think this was another portion of my leak. I used the wrong studs. That connects to the exhaust system right there, which is that hose over there. So I think this was another reason I was leaking water. As far as oil, I'm still not 100% sure if the oil came from there or if it's coming from underneath this pan. This pan is not in good condition. I can imagine if the gasket that holds this together has failed and oil is coming out from that part. I'm not 100% sure. That is going to be pain in the butt to remove that pan. I don't know how I'm going to do it. The only way I can imagine is that I would have to remove the engine mount. This one's already removed. And then disconnect it from the bell housing that connects to the transmission, and then lift that portion of the engine up. I don't know. I really don't. That's enough work for today. I'm gonna stop because sunset is in about 30 minutes, and a lot of this stuff is gonna come home with me. I'm gonna clean it up and service it, change all the gaskets, go from there, and then we'll get started on this project next time we're here.